I hope everyone had a good holiday season, but let's get to the review. Hey, everybody out there in YouTube land. Jake of the OneManBand is back again. A couple weeks late due to the holiday season, New Year's Eve, Christmas, all that stuff. But I'm here now, and I have 3 episodes of RWBY to tackle, all in the matter of a few days. So, just so you know, I'm going to be reviewing each episode like I normally would. Like, I don't know what's going to be coming next, like I haven't seen the newest episodes, and I'm going to be taking it one at a time. So, let's start with RWBY Volume 4, Chapter 7, Punished. And what a perfect title it is. We start off the episode with rejoining Oscar, the farmhand that we learned is somehow connected to Ozpin, and this episode truly does acknowledge everything that we have been theorizing thus far. Now, when we join Oscar, we see that he is reading a book and his aunt calls up to him that supper is almost ready. And by their banter they have together, it seems that Oscar didn't choose to live with his aunt. He was pretty much, I don't want to say forced to, but it wasn't a situation that he chose. So it could be that Oscar is maybe an orphan, maybe his parents were killed by Grimm, maybe they were killed by bandits, and now he's living with his aunt on the farm. I am not sure. But it's not a bad relationship in any way. Oscar loves living with his aunt, although we learn later that he doesn't want to be a farmhand for the rest of his life. But I'm getting ahead of myself. Before we get to the conversation that Oscar and Ozpin have, I just want to take a moment to notice, to tell you guys that there are a butt ton of books in this kid's room. Like, he has a bookshelf, there's stacks of books just on the floor. He is definitely a lover of knowledge and a lover of tales. We're not sure if they're fiction or non-fiction, maybe historical documentationary books, but we know that there is a large volume of them. And if he's anyone like me, he has a very wide variety of books that he likes to read. So we know that he isn't a dumb farmhand. He's definitely learned, he knows his letters, he knows how to read and write, and he enjoys reading, so that way he probably has a very broad vocabulary and broad understanding of the world, although he probably hasn't been out there much. As Oscar goes to wash up for supper, we hear Ozpin tell him that they need to leave, and he implores him to. Now, whether Ozpin has some form of clairvoyance and knows either something bad is going to happen, or is just very anxious to get going and get to wherever Ozpin needs to be, he needs Oscar to leave because Oscar is the body, is unknown. It seems more like Ozpin, however, is trying to get Oscar to leave, to just go at his own accord and sort of do whatever he needs to do, what Ozpin needs to do. Oscar, of course, just brushes this aside, saying that he doesn't believe that Ozpin is real. But Ozpin states that he went through the same frustration and confusion. So, this means that Ozpin is not the first incarnation of this aura transference. Ozpin was just like Oscar at one point. He was, his aura and soul was melded with the person who came before him, and he became the new Oz character, if you will. Now, of course, this could very well confirm the theory that the Ozpin character is actually the wizard who gifted the 4 maidens with their powers way back when, and he has been reincarnated every single time his physical body is destroyed. His aura has transferred to another host, much like the seasonal maidens transfer their power. But unlike the seasonal maidens, the wizards or the Ozpin aura actually transfers both the soul and the memories of the previous host. It isn't known if the hosts before the most recent one are still aware and alive with inside that soul and with inside that aura, but I believe it may be along the lines of maybe Avatar: The Last Airbender, how the Avatar is always reincarnated, but they can tap into the knowledge and the wisdom of the previous reincarnations. So maybe the whole Ozpin aura semblance is something like that. Now, Ozpin is imploring Oscar to go to Haven. Now, we know that there is trouble brewing in Haven. It's the next target on the Chaos Syndicate's list, and Cinder herself claimed to hail from Mistral, which means that she would probably have come from Haven. So there's definitely stuff going on down there, and Ozpin wants to get there to help aid in the situation. But Oscar is being really just... what's the word I'm looking for? He doesn't want to go. I mean, obviously, if some random voice just popped up in your head telling you to leave home, you wouldn't really be privy to just jumping out of your bed and going on an adventure. No, you'd be freaking scared, like Oscar is. Now, we know that Oscar is in Mistral. He is either nearby the kingdom, or is at least nearby enough to be considered the same kingdom. So he isn't all too far away. The possibility of Team Ranger coming across Oscar in their travels is actually quite high, I believe. I mean, I think that would be really cool if, like, they come across Oscar and then Ozpin's like, oh, that girl, you should talk to that girl. You know, it'd be kind of cool. To help prove to Oscar that their aura, soul, semblance, all that stuff is now pretty much combined, Ozpin tasks Oscar with describing the headmaster's room at Haven Academy, which Oscar is able to, and he talks about how he gifted a tea set to him when he took over as headmaster of Haven Academy. But it was actually Ozpin who did it. So their memories are melded, and even though Oscar brushes it off like, oh, I must have just saw a description of this in another one of my aunt's books, it's still proving the fact that their aura, semblance, and memories are now combined. Oscar is not going to be able to get rid of Ozpin. Ozpin and Oscar have a grand responsibility to uphold, protecting the world from Salem. And even though Oscar is still scared and doesn't really know how to take this, I hope that Ozpin is going to help Oscar in a mentor way to help sort of bring him into what he needs to be. I have seen some theories and some thoughts that, well, maybe Ozpin will just completely take control of Oscar, and the Oscar that we did know, the Oscar that was him before, would be completely destroyed and replaced by Ozpin. I don't believe that's the case. If that was the case, then Ozpin wouldn't have said that he went through the same, confusion and, just terror that he did when he was younger. Ozpin is definitely his own person, and Oscar's definitely going to be his own person. It's just the previous incarnation of the Ozpin semblance that is going to help aid him and give him the facts and knowledge that Oscar's going to need to help become the next big leader of the Huntsmen. Now, while watching this, I drew up a few good comparisons with the whole Ozpin-Oscar relationship. One of it is, it almost seems like their relationship is really reminiscent of the Luke Skywalker and Ben Kenobi relationship in Star Wars: A New Hope. Think of it this way. Ozpin is the Ben Kenobi, while Oscar is the Luke Skywalker. Ozpin is telling Luke to come with him and, we have a great responsibility to uphold. We need to leave your home. And that was a big thing that Ben Kenobi talked about with Luke. He talked about how he had to, leave, and he had to, go out on this adventure to help, save the galaxy. But Luke was, even though he didn't want to stay on the farm, on the moisture farm, for all his life, he actually wanted to leave. But once he was given this opportunity and this big responsibility, he was more reluctant, which Oscar is. Another comparison is maybe the whole semblance, transference of soul and aura to another host is kind of like Doctor Who. How every time he sustains a good amount of damage, he reincarnates, if you will. He takes on a new body, a new form, but he's still the same Doctor. It's kind of, I think it may be something like that. The aura, mind, and soul kind of stay the same, but they take on a new host, take on a new form, and that form is altogether different than the previous one, but they're still the same person, if you will. Plus, the whole scarf that Oscar has is reminiscent of, I believe, the 4th Doctor's big old scarf. So, you know, just a thought. So with that, we then transfer back to Atlas and Weiss being talked to by her father. Now, as Weiss is being disciplined by her father, we can tell that she's pretty much had enough of this shit. She doesn't want to play by his rules anymore. She doesn't want to be this person that she's been forced to be anymore. She wants to go back into the world, be a huntress, you know, be the awesome Weiss that we know her to be. But her father really isn't having any of it. Papa Schnee tells Weiss that what she has cost them is pretty much immeasurable. Not even in money, but in, you know, respect, the family name. He holds that whole family name over her head so much. I freaking hate it. Especially due to the fact that we know that he married into the family and she is actually a descendant of the true Schnee. He is just some freaking person who married into the family who's just a piece of shit. And when she actually brings that up, he goes as far as to hit his own daughter. And I don't care who the hell you are. You don't do that. You don't hit your near adult daughter like that. That is just disrespect in so many ways. I mean, if the situation was any different, and if he was maybe less of an asshole, I might have been a little more lenient. But this just total act of him just hitting her like that is just so infuriating to me, especially with Weiss. Weiss is my favorite character right now. Well, besides John. But what's even more amazing is even after she's hit by her father, even though she's shocked by it, she stays relatively calm throughout this entire conversation. She doesn't really raise her voice, she doesn't yell at him until the very end, but it's especially after that smack, she stays calm, and that is amazing, to just stay calm after something as, you know, crazy as that. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if she freaking busted out her sword and just stabbed him right through the freaking abdomen. That would have been super cool. I mean, she'd probably go to prison, but it'd still be super cool. So in his infinite amount of wisdom, Papa Schnee decides that she hasn't turned out like he wanted her to. We already knew this. And he tells her that going off to join Winter isn't going to help her or the Schnee family name in any way. And even though he talks to her like this, she is still holding firm in what she believes and what she wants to do. She wants to protect the family name and honor it as a huntress, but he's just once again having none of it, and it's decided that she is going to stay at the home as a hostage. Which, wasn't she already a hostage in the first place? I mean, if she had open availability to leave the Weiss, the Schnee Manor, why didn't she beforehand? But anyway, Papa Schnee finally throws down the hammer and states that the staff of the house will not allow Weiss to leave the premises, and she has to stay on the premises from the manor grounds from now on. Which I really don't believe that Klein is going to go along with that. I mean, he does have, you know, butler duties, butler honor to uphold and all that stuff, and he might lose his job. But of what we've seen of Klein, he cares for Weiss more than anyone else in the whole manor. So I think Klein is going to be more lenient to Weiss's side than Papa Schnee's side. But we can only hope for that. And now comes the biggest thing that I think that goes on in Weiss's story so far in this volume. Her father properly excommunicates and destroys her heirship to the Schnee family name. Now, we can assume that he's done this same exact thing with Winter, and now he's done it with Weiss because Weiss wouldn't play nice with him. And I mean, I don't know if that's possible for him to even do. He states that he's going to say that she suffered so much trauma that she gave up her rights as the Schnee family heiress, and he passes it on to Whitley. To little shit Whitley. Now, for all those people in the previous episodes that thought Whitley was going to be a great guy, you know, he's actually supporting Weiss. No, you were wrong. You were so wrong. And I knew that this little shit was plotting something. He was doing something. And this shows that Papa Schnee and Whitley were in cahoots the entire time. Even though Papa Schnee wasn't as, you know, forward with relinquishing Weiss's heirship, he just was waiting for her to have one slip up so that he could actually do it. Remember, Papa Schnee has melded and created Whitley into exactly what he wants him to be. So if he can pass on the heirship of the Schnee family name onto Whitley, then he is golden. It's going to remain the same, and it isn't going to, I don't know, lose itself to the women. I don't freaking know. We see Whitley telling Weiss that she shouldn't argue with father or shouldn't go against his wishes. And the little smirk that he has on the entire time just confirms that he's a little shit. And he was plotting this the entire time. And Weiss is completely flabbergasted about this. She even tells that he never liked Winter. He never liked her. That's because they were heiresses to the Schnee family fortune and the company before him. And so Winter excommunicated herself from the family by joining the military. And now with Weiss's slip up, he is now the heir of the Schnee Dust Company. And he's happy about it, but we know that it's freaking wrong and that Weiss is the best candidate to be the heiress. She wants to get the family name back on the right track like her grandfather did. She wants to be like her grandfather, who is a shining example of the huntsman, businessman, altogether humanitarian that he was, or is. We don't know if he's dead. After this big revelation, Weiss cries a bit in her room, and it's understandable. Her whole life has fallen apart, and the last thing that really made Weiss is now taken from her. She is no longer the heiress to the Schnee Dust Company, but there is one thing that she still has, and that is her huntsmanship, her huntsman training. Now, she does something that I think is actually really cool. She totally kind of goes a bit off the rockers and just, kicks her bed around, makes sure things are crooked in her room. She kind of, I guess, meshes with the feng shui of the room and the symmetry of the room. It's no longer straight lines. It's no longer prim and pristine. It's, it's kind of chaotic. It's weird. She messed with her nightstand and her hope chest and her bed, so it's all crooked. I think this is not only a sign of retaliation against her father, but she also wants to show that she still has control over her room. She can still control what is in her room. She has lost so much control over her life up to this point. She just wants to confirm with herself that she can still control something. She can control how her room looks like and how things are. But I think the biggest thing about this redecoration is that it's almost reminiscent of her dorm at Beacon. How it was sort of chaotic and just kind of everywhere. Bunk beds were held up by ropes and books, for Pete's sake. So I think that the whole concept of this is to just once again confirm that she does have power over something and to remember the good times that she had in Vale. But I think Papa Schnee, for all of his business jargon, is a really dumb person. If he was truly smart, he would have taken Weiss's weapon away, but he didn't. She still has her sword. It's right there on her dresser. And we can tell by the way she picks it up, takes it up, and the look on her face. She is still determined to be a huntress, and she's going to get out of the Schnee Manor some way. And I can't wait for that to happen, because when it does, oh my gosh, Weiss going on the run is going to be so much fun. And of course, with the development of her no longer being the heiress and Whitley being the heir, I think in future volumes there's going to be a story arc where Weiss goes back to Atlas to take back the Schnee Dust Company to where it truly belongs, with Weiss. So I hope that that's a future plot in a future volume, because I would love it. I would love to see that happen. You know, Weiss, a coming home journey, a journey back to take back what is rightfully yours. It's pretty much like The Hobbit, but in RWBY. And now we get to the action-packed portion of the episode. We then rejoin Team Ranger, who have just been saved by Crow from Tyrian. Now, some good information is dumped before the battle starts proper. We learn that Tyrian knows Crow by name, and it would make a lot of sense that the Chaos Syndicate would know the big players on Ozpin's team, due to the fact that Ozpin doesn't play in the shadows like the Chaos Syndicate does. So Tyrian knows who Crow is, and Tyrian actually gives up his name to Crow, which I guess if he's as confident as he is, I mean, why not? He's going to probably end up, in Tyrion's mind, he's going to kill Crow, kill the rest of Team Ranger, and take RWBY away. So what's it going to matter if he gives up his name? And he also refers to Salem as a queen, as her grace. So once again, we get the Salem worship from Tyrian. And Crow knows who Salem is. He knows to whom Tyrian is referring to. And so the battle starts, and right now I want to just kind of give a reason why to a reason a lot of people were bringing up. A lot of people were asking once the episode came out, why isn't Crow using his scythe? Why isn't he using his scythe against Tyrian? It's because Tyrian, of what we've seen him fight, and we see him fight throughout this episode. He is a character who uses speed to his advantage. He's a very fast character. And if Crow were to use his scythe, he would be using strength rather than speed. When his weapon is in its sword form, he can be at his fastest, and he can keep up with Tyrian. That's why he's sticking with his sword, and why it only truly goes into scythe form for a moment when he escapes from one of Tyrion's attacks. We see that Tyrion's gauntlets are also guns, because everything is, and Crow also tells Team Ranger to stay out of the fight. This is a fight between him and Tyrian, which it would make a lot of sense. By the way, Team Ranger was totally just getting beat up by Tyrian, they're gonna do more harm than good, because then Crow would have to watch over them, he'd have to worry about them instead of worrying about what Tyrian is going to do, and it would distract him from the actual fight that he's having between Tyrian. Of course, this doesn't shy RWBY away. She decides to take up a sniper position and try to hit Tyrian. But they're moving way too fast for her to get an accurate shot in. So she decides to just hold off on sniper fire. Now, one of the coolest parts of this fight is when Tyrian actually disarms Crow. Once that happens, RWBY is able to get a few shots in at Tyrian with her sniper rifle. But, Tyrian doesn't really care much. He just sort of blocks the bullets with his tail, and RWBY misses the first shot. RWBY, you are really failing as a sniper, and it hurts me. A sniper only has one shot. You have to remember that. So although Tyrion's tail is probably backed up by his aura, he's still able to block RWBY's sniper rifle shots, giving Crow the opportunity to go full fisticuffs with Tyrian and give him a few good punches to the face and a kick to the gut. So we know that Crow is he's actually a pretty good brawler. He knows how to fight with his fists and how to fight without a weapon. Something he should have taught RWBY, because back in Volume 2, she was completely ineffective without her weapon. And I think RWBY would, do some good if she got some training with, fisticuffs rather than just flat out weaponry. Now, during this fight, we do get a new song sung by Jeff Williams. Now, I can't make out any of the lyrics because there's just way too much sound effects going on. But I can't wait to hear the actual song because it feels like it's a song meant for Crow. And, Crow is an awesome character. We all love Crow. So both Tyrian and Crow fight, each one gaining the upper hand in certain areas, but they both fight to the point of both their auras being depleted. So it's a fight to the death. We know that. One of them is going to be defeated in this fight. So as they continue with their fight and RWBY sees that her uncle has his aura depleted, she enters back into the fight. Now, she states that she doesn't want someone else getting hurt in a fight that, she can help prevent. But Crow once again tells RWBY to stay out of the fight. But RWBY replies that it's her fight too. But Crow tells her that it's not that. It's something else. But what is it? Now, here's the thing. By the way he says it, it sounds like he knows something. He knows that something might happen to RWBY. Almost like something like this has happened before. What if in the past, him and Summer were in a fight and somehow she ended up dying because of Crow? Or something like that. And he's seeing history repeat itself with RWBY. I mean, it's just an idea, but dang it, it just brings so much more passion and emotion into the fight. Although RWBY does aid Crow a little bit, I believe she should have listened to him, because it's due to her being in the fight that he ends up saving her from falling debris. But this totally opens him up to being hit by Tyrion's tail. It's just a scratch, but it's enough to bring him to his knees. RWBY follows in suit with actually using her scythe for something effective, and she cuts off Tyrion's stinger. Now, this is the second dismemberment in freaking RWBY, and it's a freaking tail. Jeez, that must really hurt, and we can tell that Tyrian is in pain. He screams out, calling RWBY a bitch, and he is having a hard time staying on his feet. Now, if he's like any other form of animal, if they lose their tail, they sort of lose their balance, if you will, because they're used to having that tail there to, to steady them, and it's freaking gone. I think you'd be a little bit shaken up by that. Plus the pain of getting one of his appendages freaking chopped off. Before Tyrian can enter back into the fight, he's cut off by the remainder of Team Ranger, and he decides to retreat, saying to himself that she will forgive him. Now, he's telling that more to himself, like, there's a reason, it's okay for me to retreat for now. She'll forgive me, she'll understand that things are bad, I'm wounded, stuff like that. So, Tyrian retreats for now. Now, due to the fact that he is an arachnid faunus, is there a possibility for his stinger to grow back? In the previous faunus World of Remnants, we learned that reptilian faunus can grow back their tails. So I think it's up in the air if Tyrian is going to be able to grow back his stinger. Now, when Tyrian attacked Crow with his stinger, his eyes were purple. So there is indeed poison in that scratch. Now, a lot of people have been crying out, well, Crow's dead, we might as well hang up the banner, dig the grave right now, when you have to remember, Tyrian was altogether ready to sting RWBY with his stinger, to poison her, and his orders from Salem, who he refers to as a goddess, mind you, so her word is law. She told him to bring her back alive. So there is a very small chance that Tyrion's poison was going to be potent enough to kill RWBY. Now, can he change the potency of his poison? I'm not sure. But once again, it was only a scratch that hit Crow, not a full-blown sting and injection. So the amount of poison in Crow's body might be small. But I do believe that it's going to be a hindrance to Team Ranger. Not only is he wounded, but he's going to be slightly poisoned. This poison can, take on ill health effects. He might end up getting really sick. It might paralyze him in some way. So they're going to have to find some form of medical aid soon. Or maybe a healing semblance? Jean? I don't know. Just broad thinking. Hopes. I got high hopes. Now, the episode ends with Crow asking Ruby what is her favorite fairy tale. And we know that it was Ozpin who asked Pyrrha the same exact thing when he dumped a big expositional and big lore dump on Pyrrha. So I believe that the next episode is going to be a big lore dump episode. It's going to have lots of lore, maybe not so much fighting, but it's going to have a lot of, character and a lot of history in it, which, I'm going to love. More history for us so we can understand Remnant better. Yay! Hey, everybody out there in YouTube land. Thanks for watching this RWBY episodic review. I hope you guys enjoyed, and thank you for waiting for this episode to come out because, it is a little bit late, but I thank you guys anyway. So, be sure to hit like and favorite if you've enjoyed. Subscribe, of course, if you feel inclined to. Check out links to other videos and social media pages. And check out my Patreon if you want. You can support me monetarily that way to help me get videos out to you guys. More videos, more fun from me. I mean, if you guys want to. And big thanks to my Patreon sponsors. You guys are awesome. And until next time, I'll see you guys next time I'm out there in YouTube land. Be a good person, tip your waitresses, keep moving forward, and I'll see you then.